Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to SF Live. I'm Myrna Lim, your host. Tonight we have a very special guest. If you had been reading the newspapers lately and or watching television, water everywhere, but we don't have enough of it. Everybody is talking about water. The governor just signed the water bill yesterday, and part of that package is a general bond obligation that will be going before the voters, the voters, on November 2010 in the amount of $11 billion. Now, San Francisco has its own water issue. So the question is, we have this drought. Do we have that drought? Do the 23 million Californians have to seriously think about conserving water for our daily use? The day-to-day struggle for water is a problem, but we will have a very dear friend of ours, Mr. Brian Browne, an economist who specializes in water economy, the economics of water, who would give us a picture of what this whole water bill is about, what's going on in San Francisco today. He is a member of the Bond Oversight Committee. Remember the time when we passed the $1.6 billion bond measure not long ago for Hetch-Hetchy? Well, Brian is in that Oversight Committee. So he's got a wealth of knowledge. Well, welcome for that long, Brian.
Thank you,
Sorry about that very long introduction. So tell us what's going on.
Well, actually, I'll change. It's called the Revenue Bond Oversight Committee.
Okay, great,
yeah,
good.
And the new bill was just signed into law, and I'm not a lawyer, so I had to break it down somewhere.
Good. You're an economist.
So I looked at it, basically bond. It's got, as you said, it's going to authorize $11.1 billion in general obligation bonds,
right,
to do things like new storage, ecosystem restoration, water supply improvement, watershed protection, monitoring, and so forth. Create a new commission, change other commissions, and basically to take care of our water system.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to establish monitoring for groundwater throughout the state. And actually, because San Francisco has pre-1914 water rights, it was exempt for that, but it's been doing that. So that's applauded. I will give the SFPUC. And then oversight, it's going to create a new council for the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta.
Right.
It's going to be a conservatory to oversee the implementation of this ambitious bill. Now, specifically what they will do has not been determined because the money hasn't been, but their goals have been set. And it's not a group that will it's not a bill that makes hard decisions. It's a bill that actually establishes the framework for making hard decisions. And as you said, 23 million Californians depend on water from the San Joaquin, Sacramento Delta for their water, or part of their water, and it gets its runoff from 40% of the area of the state of California. So it's quite an immense system, and it supplies a lot of water.
Right.
And one other thing I would just add is that they've thrown the peripheral canal back into the mix here. I think it was 1982 that the peripheral canal was rejected, but that would, rather than take the water from the delta, it would take the water from the Sacramento River and pipe it south into the State Water Project and the Central Valley Project. And there's a lot of work to do here.
Well, okay. Why don't you talk a little bit about where San Francisco is getting its water as opposed to the state? With the state, you're talking about the Sacramento Delta, where it's got all this water, and then San Francisco has its own source of water that it's delivering to the peninsula and so forth.
Okay.
Could you try to make those sort of distinction?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that one of the concerns of San Francisco and other local municipal water districts with their own source was that the state will get broad powers over all state water, and but it seems like that San Francisco is fine with that. They've worked out some sort of agreement apparently. Now we get our water. 85% of our water comes from the Tuolumne River, and 15% of our water comes from local sources.
Right.
And we deliver water to about 2.4 million customers, including to the city and county of San Francisco. And we deliver water to the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency, which represents approximately 29 municipal customers.
Right, right.
And I just make some notes. We average between 1984 and the present, we delivered approximately 251 million gallons of water per day on average. That's an average amount delivered. And we just entered into the Master Water Sales Agreement, which we based our deliveries on 265 million gallons of water a day.
Right.
Now, we've never delivered that on a statistically significant period or over any long-term period. We've always delivered less. And even that has apparently caused the planners at the SFPUC and with the Peninsula customers to ask San Francisco to cut back their use of Hetch Hetchy water from their historical average of approximately 90 million gallons a day to 81 million gallons a day. And during the same period where we used 90 million, the Peninsula only used 163. And Hetch Hetchy is probably the most pristine, best water you can get anywhere in the country, or one of the best. At one point, during the severe drought, we did import water from the Delta at something like $500 an acre foot. So whether that option still is open to us, I believe.
Right, right. Okay, could you tell us a little bit about explain what the water master sales agreement is, and then how you're involved in that? You're in the Revenue Bond Oversight Committee. I know there's a little bit of a, I don't intend to drive up your high blood pressure or anything, but just to give the public a little bit of a flavor as to what's going on.
Well, first of all, I disagree with the SFPUC planners.
Okay, meaning the Public Utilities Commission.
Public Utilities Commission. Right. They've never delivered $265 million, 265 million gallons of water per day on an average. Yet they've entered into a contract with the Peninsula getting a guarantee, ad infinitum guarantee of 184 million gallons a day, and we're cut back to 81 million gallons.
Oh, they get more than we.
Well, yeah, but we had to cut back about 10% of our supplies so we could give it to them. And if do you have that graph that?
I have this graph, but I don't think so. It doesn't work very well. Let me see how we're going to show this.
Well, anyway, let's look at the per capita use of water.
All right, just go ahead and explain it.
The per capita use of water. We have the three counties that we sell wholesale water to: Alameda, San Mateo, and Santa Clara. Alameda uses 150 gallons per day per capita.
You mean per family or something?
Per person, yeah.
Per person?
Per person,
right.
per capita per person. Yeah. San Mateo, 130 gallons per day, and Santa Clara, 171 gallons per day. We use only 100 gallons per day.
Why does Santa Clara have so much?
I can't answer that question.
Do they take more baths?
I don't know. But we only use 100, and we actually, one of the mandates of the recently passed state legislation is that all major cities must cut back 20% by 2020.
Wow.
But if you're 100 or less, you're exempt. So we're basically exempt, although the PUC saying we're averaging 105. Well, I think that needs to be looked at. My investigation shows 100 million gallons per day, and we're the lowest.
Right.
And we're the third lowest county in the state of California. And two other counties have got about the same amount. Pity we couldn't show this graph. But,
yeah, exactly. But how does that affect the rate payers, though? Because with San Francisco, right, didn't our water bill go